lives one day at a time. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. They're here to get your day going fine. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. And here's your host, Miss Kim Robinson.
Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. And thank you so much for sharing your Saturday afternoon with me. Yes, welcome to the From Powerless to Powerful show. I am your host, Rise and Win Coach Cynthia Newell of Dare to Dream Spiritual Life Coaching Practice, where I get the lovely honor in teaching how to release internal struggles effortlessly so that you can walk in newness. That is your divine birthright. It is my heartfelt intention to encourage and empower through inspirational teaching, spiritual enlightenment, and guided transformation. And I'm so honored to God to have this platform to live out that intention. And so we have embarked upon season 2. For many of you, you know that podcasting is new for me, but enjoying delicious conversation and feeding my desire, my inquisitiveness, that's nothing new for me. And so I have enjoyed, hosting this podcast, getting to know even more the vision that God had for the podcast. And I took some time off last month from podcasting, from everything, just to fine-tune the vision, to, reconnect with my why and with God's purpose for this podcast and everything that I do, my Periscope series, my blogs, even to the books that I've written and have yet to write. And it was a great time of just introspection, and I missed, being out, but I greatly benefited from going within. And so I'm excited about what God has downloaded in my spirit, and I hope that you would take this journey with me. Season 2 is focusing on expansion, where God is bringing us to a place. My prayer is that God will enlarge our territory. But as we pray that prayer, we have to be ready to not only change, but be willing to grow. Mm-hmm. And that's a difference, and so as we, ask God to enlarge our territory, we have to be prepared for that enlargement. And that's what the central theme of season 2 is about, just being prepared spiritually, mentally, emotionally, going to another level in our consciousness, our awareness, and in our faith, so that we can be in perfect alignment with that which we're believing God for. And so I have some great shows lined up for you, and I figure what better way to get this season started than with the beautiful Janine Ingram of the Love Journey, Inc. And she's going to be, talking with me today on the podcast. And as I was praying about just the whole lineup, God showed me first and foremost that love, that has to be the foundation. And I said, Lord, well, who in my circle, or who do I know that really speaks profoundly about love and lives it and walks it out? And my dear, sweet sister goddess, Janine Ingram, came to my spirit, and I reached out to her, and she accepted the call. And so she's here with me today. How you doing, Janine?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you for having me. And I'm super honored.
Oh.
And let me tell you why I'm super honored.
Yes, ma'am.
This is what touched my soul, because when you can live your purpose, and my purpose is to emanate and embody the presence of love. And so your last testimony, when you said you rushed out to God, all I could say is, thank you, God, for allowing me to be the walking embodiment of love. And you just confirmed that. Thank you so much.
Amen. Absolutely. You just never know who's watching you. We always know that God is watching us, but we never know what individuals are watching us. And, I remember meeting you for the first time, and it's so funny how I met Janine and the Boost community. That's how I met Janine, through Valerie Love and the Boost community. She was doing her annual sunrise service, which I had never heard anything about, but I had met these women that were all based on the East Coast in Maryland, and they were coming to Chicago which I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and so Chicago is about 4.5 hours away from me. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go to Chicago. I don't know any of these people, per se. I knew them in the spirit. They felt like my spiritual family, but I had never met them face to face. And so I had made a decision that I was going to drive to Chicago. And I took that trip by myself, drove to Chicago to be a part of the sunrise service. And when I got there, I didn't secure a hotel or anything. Just like family, it's like going to your sister's house. They embraced me, and you can stay here. And I remember staying at a young lady's house, and her hospitality, it was just so genuine, and you could just feel the love. I didn't feel like a stranger amongst these women. And I remember we were at I don't know where we were at. I think it was a bookstore or somewhere where Valerie was speaking, and you came, Janine. A shoe store, yep. And you came, and you had on these bad shoes, and I was like, man, and I'm a shoe person. I love shoes. And I remember two things that I admired about you instantly, and we didn't have a conversation. I just heard you talking to one of the other ladies. It was your assurance of God's love for you. That stood out. And I remember overhearing, or we were sitting in a circle, and you were sharing at the lady's house that your mom had planned to have an abortion. She had actually went to have the abortion with you. Am I correct? And you didn't come out.
She had an abortion.
She had an abortion, and you were still in there. I mean, my God, what did that speak to you about who you are on a soul level?
It's interesting that you bring that out because I hadn't really given it a lot of thought until Mama Joy one day called me. She said, "I don't think you really understand that you really were meant to be here. She started talking about the work we do to even get to get to the egg and how the process happens. But then you had to fight past the abortion and all the things. Because what happened, my mom got raped. So she had got raped. She was hooked on drugs and she was raped. And because of her rape, she felt like, well, I'm sure she didn't want to conceive a baby from that kind of experience. And so she had her abortion and bled for 2 weeks and found out she was still pregnant with me. And here I am, living out my purpose in life, and super excited that God saw fit for me to still be here. And I'm grateful that he chose Miss Anastasia McAdoo, who is my mother, the vehicle that I came through to come to the planet, because it speaks to my resilience. It speaks to my perseverance. It speaks to my ability to persevere even when obstacles show up. So I love it.
Yeah. And those are all definitely, I hate to say characteristics, but they're muscles that we must allow to be strengthened if we're going to withstand any, challenges that we face in life, expected or unexpected. So I want, listeners who have never met you or don't know who Janine Ingram is, I want you to just kind of share with us who you are, what do you do, and the work do here on this planet.
Wow. Well, first of all, I've been with my husband for 32 years. And I have 3 amazing daughters. And I love, I think my favorite job on the planet was being a mother. I love the opportunity to have been the mother of these 3 amazing girls who God gave me to learn, to grow, to expand. And I learned so much from them. I'm a transformational life coach. I'm a radio host. I have a blog talk show that I do every morning called The Love Journey. And the mission of the Love Journey is to remind us that our only job on the planet is to return to love. It's to really get to know who we are and to master oneself. I think the biggest success secret in the world is in Matthew 6:33, which is in the Bible, is to seek the kingdom of God, which is the kingdom of God as ourself, and all our righteousness, meaning all our gifts and talents. And all things will be drawn into you, because the word tells us our gifts and our talents will make room for us and put us before great men. So as we grow our gifts and our talents, but it comes from learning to love ourselves, learning to love. So that's my mission. In everything I do, I always remember to come from love, because love is the highest vibratory frequency on the planet.
Amen. It is. It is. What are you, in your experience and just the people that you supported, what do you feel is our greatest challenge to being able to return to love?
Ooh, that's a great question. Our conditioning, our veils that we've been conditioned to believe, because even from our childhood to our churches to our school system, everything in life teaches us to seek outside ourselves for everything. We seek love, we seek for validation, and everything we seek outside ourselves, when really the work is to seek within ourselves. And the biggest obstacle is to turn within and really trust and believe the presence of us inside of us. You know, that's the hardest work, to really, you know, to sit still and say, okay, all right, let me go within. Let me really, you know, but also to really understand what love is, because we've been taught unconditional love. I mean, we've been taught conditional love.
Conditional love,
Think about it. I mean, if you don't show up a certain way, then we withhold our love from people.
Right.
If you don't do what I want you to do, we withhold our love from people. If people are not showing up the way we want them to show up, well, forget it. I'm not gonna, you know, even though we don't really think of it as love, but if I'm passive aggressive because you're not showing up the way I want you to show up, well, I refuse to talk to you, or I refuse to do what I used to do because you're not showing up the way I want you to show up.
Yeah.
If you're not gonna be that doctor or that lawyer, well, I'm disappointed in you. You know, as a parent. So it's so many ways we show conditional love, because we've been taught that's what love is. And then we think love means, you know, that attachment that we have, you know, that attachment feeling that we have, and then we want to control how it's moved. But love is so uncontrollable. It's so elusive. And as soon as you try to control it, you lose it, because love has nothing to do with control. Love has everything to do with allow.
Freedom. So for that person that has been, you know, taught that no good thing dwell within me, how would you coach them to transform their mentality to be able to go within? Because if you have a core belief that no good thing dwells within me, you will resist with every fiber of your being going within to find love, because ain't nothing good in me. So what would you say to a person that has that struggle?
First of all, it would depend on the person. If they were a person who believed in the word in the Bible, I would show them everything in the Bible that shows them. Jeremiah that says, I knew you before you were put in the womb of your mother's belly, and I had plans of success for you. You know what I'm saying? It is He that gives thee the power to give wealth. In Timothy it says, it is He that gives richly all good things. So it's so many scriptures that remind us. But if that's not there, if that doesn't work, then, you know, because some people need it in right. But the best place I can always tell them is to let's sit still. Move from your head. Get out your head. And just move into your heart space and ask your heart to speak to you. Speak to you, because your heart has wisdom. You know, so many times we get so caught up in our head that we just can't get still to hear our heart. But just hear your heart. And ask it to speak to you. And if they believe in God, and if they believe in God, Cynthia, if they believe in whether they call God Allah, however they see this great spirit, I would ask it to reveal itself to you. And let me tell you, people don't know this, but the truth is God will reveal itself to you.
Yes,
He God is so amazing, Cynthia, that God has His own love language with each and every one of us that's personal.
Yes, He does. He does.
Yes, He does. I'm going to let you integrate that. God has His own love language for each and every one of us. And it's personal.
You know, that's just so juicy. I just want to share something. It is very personal how God speaks to you, and just thinking about, you know, what you were saying about getting still, and God, He speaks to me using animals a lot of times. And I remember maybe about a week ago, I was sitting at the car dealership. I was having my car serviced, and I had said a prayer to the Lord about a dilemma or a perceived challenge that I was having. I felt like I didn't know which way to go or what to do. And I was sitting outside for maybe about 10 minutes, didn't see this thing, but then all of a sudden I turned, and lo and behold, there's a praying mantis sitting on the back of a truck. And my spirit just leaped with excitement because I knew that it was a message from Spirit, you know. And when I studied the nature of a praying mantis, they are still. I mean, their position, they don't move. And it was somebody that walked in front of the thing, and it flinched just a little bit, but it did not move its position. It stood still, and they stay that way, studying their prey, and they wait for the divine right time to act, you know. And it just made me think about that experience and countless other experiences in the various ways that God speaks to me through dreams. And, you know, and I think that that's a very good point that you hit on, you know, knowing how God speaks to you. And it takes relationship, you know, with God to understand how God speaks to you. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Girl, yes. And it just reminds me of a quick story. When I first started the Love Journey prayer line, I didn't think I was good enough, Cynthia. I'm just going to be real authentic.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was good enough to lead a prayer line. I really didn't go to church, and I didn't really know the Bible. So one day I get on the prayer line. It was just supposed to be me and 5 friends. They wanted to know, what is it about you, Janine? It had something different. But one day I looked up, and it was people from all over the world, and it was ministers. They would say, good morning, Minister such and such. Good morning, Reverend such and such. Good morning, Minister. Good morning. And I got off the line. Before it started, I said, God, I ain't going to be able to do this. I don't know the Bible like they know the Bible, right? That's what I had said. And I remember sitting still with God, and God said, how did you get to know your husband? He said, did you read a book to know your husband? I said, wow. He said, and I said, no, I spent time with my husband. He said, that's the difference. He said, people can read a book, but they still won't know me until they spend time with me.
Yeah, that is divine. That is divine. Absolutely.
And so you just said the most powerful thing, relationship. And that's how we develop a relationship with God, is spending time.
Yeah. Studying his voice and just letting God pour into you. You know, that's so important. You know, even if you don't have this great big thing that you want to do, just, you know, maintaining life on just an everyday schedule. I mean, that's even miraculous within itself, you know, all the things that unfold to us, and just living life as a wife or as a mom or as a sister or as a daughter, you know. So, yes. So we're going to take I normally don't take breaks. I like to just keep going. So we're going to keep going so that we can, you know, just enjoy it. I don't want to break this good conversation up, but I want you to share with the listeners your journey to becoming the love goddess. You know, I know that you said that when you started the the prayer line, you know, the concerns that you had, but how did you get to the point of being identified as the love goddess?
So I'm a backtrack. When we started the Love Journey prayer line, it was just called the prayer line, then it became the Source, and then it became the Love Journey. But there was one minister on there, Minister Tamiko Green. She said, you know, I got a new name for you, and they started calling me Minister Lady Love. Now, that's how I got Lady Love. Love Goddess came from a whole different environment. One of my friends, you know, back in the day, when Valentine's Day came and different events came, I would put different musics together, and I would put little baskets and give to my girlfriends and set up their homes for relationship stuff. Like her boyfriend was coming over for Valentine's Day, so I had put rose petals and set up her home, put candles all around the tub, and I gave her little tips and tricks. And when he came in the house, he he had to read the card to kind of map his way to where he was supposed to end up. So after the experience, and I had perfect music, I had the lighting, because ambiance is important. So I had the ambiance set up, I had the rose petals, I had everything set up perfectly. She was perfectly dressed, everything, the music, everything was perfectly. I mean, you would think I was doing a scene in a movie. And so after the evening, and he was so delighted by what happened, she started calling me the love goddess. So my friends started calling me the love goddess. The prayer line started calling me Lady Love. And I was in another place where they started calling me Dr. Love. And but the journey to loving myself came from a relationship. Interesting enough, right? It was a guy totally infatuated, over the hill, whatever you do when you in that space where your heart is involved, where and it's not showing up the way you want it to show up, and then you start feeling, but then you start seeing it's just kind of like the icing on top of the cake that kind of just melts everything away. You're like, what in the world? What can I be doing so wrong in life that I keep attracting this in my life? My life is not going where I want it. And I just remember sitting in the middle of the bed. I was profusely crying, and I said to God, what is love? I don't understand love. If you're synonymous with love, why does love seem to always hurt? And why does love seem to do things that don't seem like it should be even connected with love? And I remember sitting in the bed crying, and I remember God said to me to write down on this paper. I had my journal because I'm a journaler. I love to journal, meditate, and pray.
Too.
And so those are my three main tools. And so I remember praying, I remember crying, and I remember journaling. And God said, write a line down the paper. He said, what is it that you really enjoyed about the relationship, and what is it that you didn't? So it was stuff like, people, he had a voracious appetite for women, and he didn't show up when he said he was going to show up. We had dates he didn't come call or write, or just all kind of crazy stuff. And so I wrote things like I wasn't important. He didn't make me feel like I was important. I didn't feel like a priority. I wrote and felt abandoned. I wrote all kinds of stuff like that. And I remember God saying to me, when was the earliest that you can remember feeling that way? And I remember being a little 7-year-old girl, and I was living in, my mother was hooked on drugs, so I lived in different foster cares or different homes. And this particular home was at 7229 South Morgan. I was 7 years old. That's in Chicago. And I was 7 years old, sitting in the window looking out because it's my birthday, and I think that my mother going to come and see me for my birthday. I know she's going to come bring me a gift. I'm looking out the window, and as a little girl, she, hour by hour, I know she coming. She still didn't come. 3 o'clock comes, she didn't come. 7 o'clock, no mother. 9 o'clock, no mother. And about 10 o'clock, still no come calling, right? And I went to bed crying, saying I'm not important to nobody. Nobody loves me. And I began writing. So I began to write everything I said to myself as a 7-year-old when I was a little girl. My mother didn't show up. And do you know there was the same exact things that I said when this guy didn't show up? It was the same exact thing. I didn't feel important. No, she didn't love me. Why I'm not important to people, And God said, do you know the story we tell ourselves is the story we live?
Yeah.
And it was the story I began to live out. I began to live that story out, and I began to attract that in my life. You see, I was saying no when I really wanted to say yes. I was saying yes when I really wanted to say no, because I didn't know how to honor myself. I didn't know how to be true to who I was, because it was so important for me to please or be important to other people, but I wasn't important to myself because I didn't know how. So when God said, well, you need to learn how to love you now, I was like, but I don't even know what love is. I don't even know how to love myself. And God said, begin with what you know. And so
that's powerful. Oh, begin with what you know. Oh my God, that just hit my spirit. Begin with what, because and don't lose your thought, but so many times we think it's far. We have to go get all these books, or we got to join this coaching program, and that may come at some point. But starting with what you know, starting with what you have, that is so empowering, because it shows you that you do have something. you have something within you that, is useful and that, can help you heal right now. And I could build upon that. I hope somebody got that. Start with what you know. I love that. Okay,
so
go ahead. I'm
writing
sorry.
in my journal. No,
Yeah.
you're good. So I began writing in my journal, and I remember thinking, I don't know how to love. I don't even know what love is. And so I remember thinking to God, can you teach me how to love? Can you teach me how to love? And I remember getting in the shower because now I'm starting to feel better. I'm not crying as much. And I remember taking the water and placing it on my heart, saying, heart, can you teach me how to love? God, can you teach me how to love? And I remember thinking, what would I do for somebody if I was in love with them? And I said, God, teach me how to feel for me the way I felt for other people. Teach me, you know how you get those butterflies in your stomach? Teach me how to have those butterflies in my stomach for me. Teach me how to have that anticipation to be with me. You know how when you're getting ready to go on your first date, you anticipating the energy high, your body all moved, and every cell in your body is twitching and turning. So I wanted to learn how to feel that for me. So I said, God, teach me. So what would I do? So I was thinking about what would I do? I would probably have a candlelight dinner. So I started with a candlelight dinner. I wrote myself a love letter. I sent myself flowers. And then I started, sending myself little love notes on my voicemail. Janine, I love you. You are so important to me. You mean the world to me. So sometimes when I'm listening to my voicemail, I remember one time being at work and I'm distraught and going through, and I was listening to my voicemail, and all of a sudden, I listened to and all of a sudden he goes, at first I didn't even recognize my own voice. It was so funny. I'm like, oh my God, but it twinkled my heart, and I was so elated to hear that I love you, Janine. Janine, I love you. You are important to me. And, oh, my God, you would have thought the world, I had just won $1 billion. I was grinning from ear to ear and so excited. And so I started sending myself love letters in the mail and pink and put a little perfume on it. And then sometimes it would be late, but guess what? It would come just in time, and I would read them. And then sometimes I would just sit in the dark and light candles and take a hot bath with what I would do, like, how when you may want to give your spouse a good bath, so how you put your rose petals and oils and I had the little table sitting there with, I drink water with lemons in it out of beautiful stemware, and then I had the little chocolate with the strawberries and the grapes, and I just loved me. I just told myself how much I love me, put my music on, and love myself into the bath and anointing myself. And that's the beginning of how I started to learn to love, appreciate, and accept who I am in this right now moment, exactly as I am, loving you.
Yes, and now the love goddess. And so in your coaching programs, is this something that you support your clients with, helping them, express that highest form of love to themselves?
Yes, because let me tell you, I don't care what goes on in your life. I don't care if you come to me for business coaching, if you come because you want a better relationship, if you having disharmony. I always start with teaching people how to love themselves. I do two of my favorite things.
That has to be the foundation.
It is the only foundation. When we come from the foundation of love, let me tell you how powerful Matthew 6:33 is. When you begin to master yourself, and I'm going to tell you it was powerful because I'm a radio personality and I work on a real radio here in Chicago, and I had the opportunity to interview Prince, the artist formerly known Prince. This was a couple of years before he even passed away, and the last thing he said to me was this. I said, Prince, what is what you would want your listening audience to know? What's the last thing you want your listening audience to know today? He said, when one masters, discovers, and loves oneself, one discovers God. And I thought that was so amazing because let me tell you what love does for you. See, it's really hard to talk about it because love is such an abstract feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
and
right.
You have to experience it. So first you learn to love yourself and you begin to love yourself. But then the more you begin to do the work, the more you begin to do this mirror work, you begin to cut on. It's like switches. turn on inside.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I could do like, oh, okay, good. And then some days, even after years of doing it, I could still look in the mirror today and sometimes bring myself to tears because I'm speaking to the soul and it's getting deep into my soul. And the more I begin to speak to my soul, the more these switches begin to turn on, and the closer I begin to understand my magnificence and the oneness that I have with the universe. And it becomes, the oneness begins to open you up to the melodic sounds clearer to God.
Yes.
That's why you begin to discover God when you love yourself. And the only work on the planet is to master ourselves. And when we master ourselves, the word says to seek ye the kingdom of God. Seek the kingdom of God. Where's the kingdom of God? It's us. We are the kingdom of God. You are the kingdom of God. I am the kingdom of God. I am all that God is. You are all that God is. And when you seek all that you are as God, and all is righteousness, what is the righteousness that's unique to Cynthia is your gifts and your talents. And when your gifts and your talents are, when you begin to develop it, the world is yours. You begin to draw everything to you. You don't have to work hard. See, you don't have to work hard. We have a hard work consciousness, but once the only work is to develop our gifts, and then I will draw all things unto you, meaning everything, your money, your relationship, cars, houses. And then I could take you back to where it says in Deuteronomy, I'll give you a house you didn't build, land you didn't toil, or a rig you didn't dig.
Yeah.
But see, we don't understand that our only work is to seek and master ourselves. My phone dinging off the hook. Somebody must like what I'm saying.
I know somebody's getting some value out of this conversation because I sure am, and it's it's an on time word, message, reminder, for where I am, and just allowing different switches to be turned on in my heart regarding my life and just my relationship with myself. And so it's an interesting journey, but it's so worthwhile. It's so worthwhile. I mean, it's just so worthwhile, and just thinking about all that you're saying, it's just very encouraging. And I hope that the listeners, are just seething with joy with what you're sharing today, because it matters to our life. If we're going to live or have a life worth living, we have to open up ourselves to what real love is, and experience it and express it in its highest form. And at first, we have to be the first partakers of that, and so for those that's just tuning in, I am your host, Rise and Win Coach Cynthia Newell of Dare to Dream, and you're listening to the From Powerless to Powerful show with my guest, the Love Goddess, Janine Ingram of The Love Journey. And we're just having a really great conversation today about the journey of love, and what that looks like. And Janine is just sharing, so eloquently her journey and just the experiences that she's had that have shaped her to be the woman of faith, the woman of God, the woman of excellence that she is. Now, before I move on to my next question, I want to invite every listener to an opportunity to win a free copy of Janine's book, which we're getting ready to talk about now. But Janine has written a book, Born to be Rich, and I thought it would be a great asset to your life. And so if you want to win a free signed copy of Janine's book, I want you to go to my website, which is cynthiasnewell.com. And if you click on the very first page, I used to have a page that for the podcast, but on my bio page, it'll tell you right there that I have a podcast. If you click on the From Powerless to Powerful, it's going to take you to the podcast page. And the question is right there in the middle of the screen. And you submit your answer, and then you'll be entered for a chance to win her book. The question is, in what T.D. Jakes movie did the victim of childhood molestation get sentenced to death for killing the person that molested her? So I want you to go to the website so you can enter for a chance to win Janine's a copy of Janine's book. Now, you can also go to the event on the Facebook page, From Powerless to Powerful Podcast, if you go there in that event, the question is listed there as well as the website of how you can answer that question. So, Janine, this book, Born to be Rich, tell me about that. What are the concepts? I know it can't just be talking about money, but no, just tell us about your book and how it came about, and just your core message in the book, or what the value that people will get from your book.
Great question. The book came about because, of course, the prayer line, the inspiration line that I do every morning.
Yeah.
A lady came on who's a great author who worked with Simon and Schuster, and she said, "Have you ever thought about writing a book?" I said, "Not really." She said, "I have been taping all the calls, and I would love for us to transcribe the calls and create a book out of the transcriptions." And from there, we transcribed the calls, and we created a book from it. And I added my stories, and and set up so that we could put it in order, so that the book would have some kind of order, and added some things to it. But that's how the book came about. And the title, Born to be Rich, is to talk to us about all our gifts and our talents, because the richness of life comes from living in purpose. And it's just so powerful when we begin to live in I like to call it our sweet spot, because when we're in our sweet spot, that's when we become magical. That's when we begin to live this magical alchemist in this space in life that just leaves magic. It's just magical, because you begin to attract, you don't have to work hard. It's kind of like living in the Garden of Eden, when you begin to live in the design that you were created for, when you begin to live the goals of your soul, when you begin to operate in the purpose that you were created for. And that's what the book talks about. The richness is all about all of that. The richness of the love, the friendships, all of the joy and happiness, along with money, can be ours as well. And living a holistic experience in life. And sometimes we don't recognize that we can do that, because we get caught up in a rat race, and we don't get enough time to really study ourselves to understand what did I come to the planet for? Why am I here?
Yeah, that's powerful. Study ourselves, and that's part of what I did last month, and just taking some time out, just studying me and seeing the interconnections of things that I enjoyed in childhood that are still much burning desires now. Like, I remember in my childhood when my friends and neighbors would say, "Come on, y'all, let's play school." I was so happy. I was ready to do a lesson plan. I was ready to teach. I was ready to see them get value from what I was teaching and sharing with them, and ask them questions to make sure they understood. And to this very day, that's still teaching is like sharing information or providing information, helping people grow. That's who I am, the essence of who I am. And so, if we don't allow ourselves time to get to know ourselves, we'll find ourselves being defined by everyone outside of ourselves. Yeah, by society and by television, and just everything that is not supposed to define us. And I think, for me, for a while, and I'm sure that there are other people out there that may have felt this way, we're just not taught to really do those types of things, and so it can be kind of scary, or you could feel like it's a waste of time. And I say scary because you really don't know how to do it. But earlier in your sharing, you share an experience just like David did. He asked the Lord to teach his hands how to war. You ask God to teach you how to love, teach you how to recognize love, how to receive love, how to give love to yourself. And that's a very important thing that we forget or miss, that we can ask God for whatever it is we don't know, we don't have. That's physically, emotionally, and spiritually and mentally, And so, if for those that are listening, what you see, remember to start, and what you don't know, you can ask God to show it to you, to give it to you, to lead you to it. I think that that's just so amazing, and it liberates you, because I know for someone like me, carrying the burden of having to figure it out, when now I can just put it out there what I need and open myself up to allow the information to come, it's lightening. It is a sweet spot, another sweet spot, because it removes from you the need to try to fix it, find the answers. You just put it out there and allow it to come. Open yourself up for it to come.
Cynthia, I think that's the hard part for a lot of people too, is not feeling like the need to do something. We have those spaces in life where maybe we get laid off of work. Like for me, I was laid off of work, and being laid off of work, it was scary for me. This journey to coming here to this point and where I am today was a very scary space, because I couldn't see the next step. And God, I remember laying in the bed thinking, I had a 6-figure job. I was making, 6 figures, and I had a Mercedes car note, and I had all these bills, and I still had my daughter in private schools, and how am I going to pay? And I remember God said, "But you get up every morning saying God is the source of your supply, everything, and everybody prospers you. Now, why are you afraid?" I said, "Because I don't know how." And God said, "But if you speak in that, if you trust that I'm your source and your job was never your source, then you need to get back up out that bed." I said, "Okay." And I got up. And that's, it's interesting. I had faith, but I still didn't have true belief, which brings me to the point. One day I was asking God, what is faith without works? I was teaching a vision board class. I teach a vision board class. This was 5 years ago. I was teaching it to some young teenagers, and this young girl, she was about 15, came up to me. She said, "Miss Ingram, how is it that you can put these things on the board and then just get them without work? My mother told us faith without works is dead." And I gave her some answer, but it really wasn't an answer that really sat well with me. And let me tell you, Cynthia, I remember I got this steam cleaner. God would speak. I told you God speaks to me through everything, mostly music and books. But God started speaking to me through the steam cleaner. I was starting to push the steam cleaner hard, and I said, "Oh my God, why am I pushing this thing when all I have to do is push the button?" Like, how you have to wring the mop and you push hard to get something that's real stuck in. But with a steam cleaner, you just push the button and the steam steams up whatever's stuck on dirt or whatever. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm acting like I got a mop." And all of a sudden I start thinking, why do we believe in struggle? Why do we believe in hard work? Why do we believe that we have to live a life of struggle and hard work? And then I said, "Well, God, what is faith without works?" God said, "Faith without belief is dead." I was like, wow. So it's not the physical work we have to clean up. It's the unbelief we have to clean up. Many times I operated in faith. Even though I got up out that bed, I really didn't really know if I believed that it still was going to work. And even though God was showing me, like, when Oprah was leaving Channel 7, I never forget that day. Oprah's last day, my girlfriend put on Facebook, "Well, we don't have Oprah, but we still got Janine." And my other girlfriend, because I wasn't really a Facebook person that much, I didn't really read Facebook. And my other girlfriend knew it. She said, "Janine, I know you haven't been on Facebook, but girl, you got to see what Tammy said about you on Facebook." She told me I don't remember the whole thing, but I remember the last line was, "But we don't have Oprah, but we still got Janine." I remember that last line. I was like, wow. She said that about me to be compared to an Oprah. I'm thinking. So I didn't go to Facebook to read it. I just called my girlfriend and said, "Girl, I heard you said these nice things. I just want to say thank you," and blah, blah, blah. She said, "Stop by here." I stopped by there, and she said, "Girl," and so I picked up a couple of salads and some lunch for us, and I thought we were going to be able to have lunch, but something came up. We didn't have lunch, so she owned the daycare. So I left the lunch there, and she gave me an envelope, and I got in the car. It was a letter, a long 2-page letter about the blessing I was in her life. And at the end of the letter was a check for $2,500. Now, I was concerned how I was going to pay my car note, how I was going to pay the IRS, and all these things that I had to pay, and that was more than enough. And it was my last Mercedes car note. It was my last bill that I had to pay to the IRS, and God is so good.
Yes.
Because you just never know. She said, God told me she said, God had been telling me to give you a call and give you this check. Now, she never called me, and I probably wouldn't have never called her if my girlfriend,
Right.
another girl, hadn't called me and said, this is what she said on Facebook about you. But God had already worked it out. You see, God had already worked it out, even when I didn't know how. You see, when we down to nothing, God is always up to something. And that was the beginning of my belief being changed. Because even though I didn't know how, I had faith enough of it, a mustard seed, to get up and keep going and trust that something may happen good, but I didn't really have true belief. And that's when I learned there's a difference between faith and belief.
That's really powerful. I hope y'all getting this. This is powerful, and that's the purpose of this podcast, is to move you from feeling powerless to living powerful. And Janine, she's dropping some powerful nuggets today, and I hope y'all are grabbing this and that it is really blessing your soul. I thank you so much, Janine, for just being authentic, for being real, transparent. We have so much fakeness out here, and people are starving for realness. And so I appreciate your realness. And that story that hits home, for me. A lot of what you're sharing really hits home about the difference between faith and belief. Having been released from my corporate job at the end of 2016 and being full-time, this is what I do. And the bills don't stop. The needs don't go away. I have a child that's in college, and I'm learning to truly believe God. I'm like you. I quote these things. I teach these things. Now, you got to really go to the next level, turn it up a degree. That's what one of the focuses is at our church, is turning it up 212 degree. And so that's where I'm at. Yeah, because at 211 degree is steam, but when you turn it up 1 degree, it's boiling. Or so, I think that's it. But so I really appreciate it.
Let me tell you this that came to my mind for you to think about. And this is what God showed me in the Bible about the children of Israel being in the wilderness. For me being released from my job, a job that I loved, I didn't understand, never understood why. You remember God had told them that they can get manna from heaven. They would get manna from heaven every day, and they can only take what they need, as much as they need for a day, but they couldn't hoard for the next day. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
In the Bible. And I never understood why God never wanted them to have more than enough for the next day. And I remember people preaching on it, but it didn't make sense. And I remember I never heard anything that made sense until God told me, when I was in the middle of my wilderness experience of learning how to release myself from a hardware consciousness to trusting in the idea that the universe will provide for me. Do you know, God showed me clearly that it wasn't about not saving for tomorrow, but it was in the wilderness experience. It was about learning to trust that God will provide for you from day to day. And then once they understood that God was their source, see, it was building that faith muscle, that belief muscle, that understanding that when you're in this process, that God will provide and that God does care about everything, and learning to trust in the spirit. And once you get that true understanding, you go into the promised land.
Yes.
And then you'll have more than enough. But you first got to build that faith muscle. And they had to build that faith muscle before they entered into the promised land.
Yeah.
That God was their source. Because it's easy to say God is your source. Well, it was easy for me to say God was my source and I was making $100,000 and I knew I was going to have a check. But could I say that when I didn't know where I was going to eat? Could I say that when the bills were due and I didn't know how I was going to show up? Could I say it when the bill collectors called me? And I learned how to say, I know that God is going to provide for me. I had started saying that when the bill collectors called. I don't know when I'm going to give it to you, but I promise you when they give it to me, that they just got nice and said, okay, they knew they was going to pay, and they stopped bothering me. Because I told them, as soon as the source release it to me, I'm going to release it to you. I said, but at this time, I'm just trusting in the understanding of who I am as the child of the Most High.
Yes.
And I started telling the bill collectors that. Because I knew God was going to provide. I just didn't know when.
Yeah.
And it changed drastically. Oh, my God. I cannot even tell you how it changed drastically. But the work was to clean myself up and trust. and believe. Because I remember laying in that bed, God, the bill collectors were calling Cynthia. And I remember, and I'm teaching prosperity, though. And I felt like I was a hypocrite because, and God said, but you got to teach what you got to learn. And I remember God saying, trust. Have faith. Well, what does it mean to trust? What does it mean to truly have faith, God? That's what I asked God. I said, what does it really mean to truly have faith? Because the evidence of things not seen in, the verse, it really wasn't working right then. And God said, but real faith this is what God said to me, real faith is trusting in the process of the unknown. I was like, that thing blew my mind.
Oh, that is delicious. That is just divine. That's wonderful. And I will chew on that, and I will allow it to open my heart even more. I feel like I don't have no other choices. I don't know no other choices but to trust, that God will provide and just go forth, mightily and strongly in all that God has called me to do. And so, again, everybody, if you're listening today, I am talking to the beautiful Janine Ingram, the love goddess of the Love Journey, Inc. And tell us, Janine, if people wanted to dial into your prayer line, what number would they use to do that?
Wow, great question. We have 2 lines you can dial in now because we're also Blog Talk Radio, so you can come in from Blog Talk side, 602-753-1902. That's 602-753-1902. If you want to call in from the teleconference side, which is, another number, it is 712-432-0900. That's 712-432-0900, and the access code is 772-719. And we have a great lineup of conversations that we do. We have Cash Flow Mondays, where we're talking about reframing our money story, how to really take we create vision boards, and we put those Bentleys on our vision boards. And we're talking about now how to take the Bentley off the vision board and put it in our driveway, step by step. How to take massive action to create the life we desire. This Monday, we're going to talk about decluttering. We don't understand the powerful resonance that happens when we declutter our homes and we get rid of stuff that we're not using. And we open the flow for prosperity in many ways to come in our life. We have great conversations we're doing right now about relationships on Thursdays with the Queen's Code. We have 4 men and 4 women. And last week we talked about emasculation and castration versus objectification. And, we had people were literally crying on a call. We took vows to never emasculate, and the men took vows to never objectify. And holding the space, the men held the space, and the women held the space on behalf of women. And we had to heal something in the planet, all them tears that was coming down people's eyes. And then we have the Millionaire Mind Conversation Cafe on Fridays. And I'm doing a great workshop here in Chicago called it's going to be all women who's dealing with the womb. We got Tamar, who's coming from the East Coast, the womb sauna lady. We got Queen LaFord talking to her about coming on September 30th. And we're going to talk about that angry womb that we have, that the stuff that's going on in that womb. Women are showing up with so much endometriosis and thyroid tumors and not being able to have babies and PCOS. I think I got the right letters. And just all kind of stuff. And we're going to be talking about how to heal, how to manifest, men, relationships, all things. It's a woman's workshop, and we're going to be talking some good stuff right here in Chicago, September 30th. And that's going to be a great weekend of sacred woman conversation. So I'm super excited about that. We got the Remarkable. I'm going to be speaking here in Chicago at the Remarkable Women's Conference weekend. We got a great women lineup. We got a great conversation. We got brunch on Sunday with Vajad Mitchell. So we got a lot of stuff coming up right here with the Love Journey, and I'm super excited. And if you want to learn more about anything I said, you can go to the Love Journey page, Love Journey Inc., The Love Journey Inc., and you can find all the information that will be posted right there on our Love Journey page. I want to thank you, Cynthia, for having me today.
I want to thank you for blessing me with your presence today and just really showing up in a great way. You have really been just wonderful to talk with, and I know that the listeners got value out of today's podcast. And again, if you all want to win a free copy of Janine's book, Born to Be Rich, go and answer that question. You can even do it on the Facebook invite. Just find my page From Powerless to Powerful, and you can post the answer there under that link that I placed on that invite. And I want you all to make sure that you tune in to the next podcast. I'm going to be talking to the fabulous Alicia Johnson of Always Journal. God has really, placed me in the presence of some great anointed women. And that means that I'm great and anointed too, because birds of a feather flock together. But Alicia is going to be talking to us about connecting with our heart through the power of journaling. She always says, this is not journaling. Your grandmama's journaling. So I want you to make sure you tune in. You got to start with what you know. And we all, for those that know how to write or speak, journaling is just that. You create through your words, whether they're written or spoken. And she's going to teach you how to create and connect with your heart. So make sure you tune in. We're here every second and fourth Saturday of the month at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you can always catch the replays on my website, which is cynthianewell.com. They're always posted there. And if you have any questions, if you need spiritual support in any way, my email address is available to you. So I think that's it. And I just want to encourage you all to connect with Janine and all the wonderful things she has going on in Chicago. It's time for us to expand. And to expand, you have to get out of your comfort zone. And to get out of your comfort zone, it takes faith. So if you know that the events that she mentioned are for you and that you're supposed to be there, trust God to provide you the means to make it to the event. So until next time, I want you all to be blessed, and thank you so much for tuning in. You have a great day, Janine.
Thank you, Cynthia, for having me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
He